The great hall of the Galactic Council stretched far beyond what human eyes could easily see. Massive pillars rose like ancient trees, each one carved from a different world's most precious stone. The air itself seemed to hum with power and authority. At the center of this grand space sat the council chamber, where representatives from dozens of species gathered to decide the fate of entire worlds. Ambassador Elena Vasquez walked slowly toward the speaking platform. Her simple blue uniform looked plain next to the elaborate robes and armor worn by the alien delegates around her. She carried only a small data pad and a leather folder containing Earth's petition for full membership in the Galactic Council. The massive screen above the chamber showed Earth rotating peacefully in space. Cities glowed like tiny stars across the continents. Space stations orbited quietly, their solar panels catching sunlight like gentle wings. General Thax of the Crowvar Empire leaned back in his seat and laughed. His voice boomed across the chamber like thunder. The Crowvar were built for war, with thick gray skin that looked like armor and hands that could crush steel. Their red eyes glowed with constant anger. "Look at this pathetic little world," Thax said, pointing at the screen. "They call themselves a civilization, but they fear their own shadows. These humans spend more time making peace treaties than preparing for battle." Advisor Nim from the Villani Collective nodded slowly. The Villani looked like walking crystals, their bodies made of what seemed like living glass. When they spoke, their voices sounded like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. But there was nothing gentle about their words. "Our calculations show that humans have attempted over 3,000 peace agreements in their recorded history," Nim said. "They created something called the United Nations just to avoid fighting. They even tried to ban their own weapons. Such weakness is almost amusing." Speaker Quinn of the Ethereal Dominion floated above his seat, his ghostly form shifting like smoke. The Ethereals were the oldest species in the Council, having mastered space travel when most worlds were still cooling from their birth. His voice came from everywhere and nowhere at once. "In our long existence, we have seen many species rise and fall," Quinn whispered. "But never have we encountered a race so afraid of its own nature. Humans write songs about peace, build monuments to fallen soldiers, and dream of a world without conflict. They are sheep pretending to be wolves." Elena reached the speaking platform and activated the microphone. The chamber fell silent, but she could feel the mockery in the air like a thick fog. "Honored council members," she began, her voice clear and steady. "Earth requests full membership status so that we may contribute to the peace and prosperity of our galaxy." More laughter echoed through the chamber. A delegate from the Razor Clans, creatures that looked like walking blades, clicked his metal. Fingers together in amusement. "Contribute?" General Thax roared. "What could you possibly offer us, little human? Your people run from every conflict. You negotiate when you should fight. You talk about understanding when you should show strength." Elena stood straighter. "We believe that wisdom comes from understanding the true cost of war. Every conflict teaches us that peace is not weakness, but the greatest strength any civilization can achieve." The chamber erupted in laughter. Even the normally silent Void Watchers, mysterious beings wrapped in darkness, seemed to shake with amusement. Advisor Nim's crystalline form pulsed with blue light. "Your species has had over 50 major wars in just the last century. If you truly understood war's cost, why do you keep fighting?" "Because sometimes," Elena replied carefully, "peace can only be achieved through the willingness to defend it." Speaker Quinn's ghostly form grew brighter. "Empty words from an empty species. Your military records show that humans prefer to surrender rather than fight to the bitter end. You negotiate with enemies instead of destroying them. You show mercy to those who would show you none." General Thax stood up, his massive frame casting a shadow across the chamber. "I have studied your pathetic military history. In your Second World War, you could have eliminated your enemies completely, but instead you helped them rebuild. In your Cold War, you had the power to destroy each other, but you chose to talk instead. This is not wisdom, human. This is cowardice." The data screens around the chamber began showing images from Earth's history. Battle scenes flashed by, but they focused on peace negotiations, surrender ceremonies, and diplomatic meetings. The Council had chosen to show only the moments when humans chose negotiation over violence. "Look at these images," said a delegate from the Thorn Republic. "Humans laying down their weapons. Humans signing treaties with their enemies. Humans choosing to rebuild instead of conquer. They are a species bred for servitude." Elena felt her jaw tighten, but she kept her voice calm. "Those images show our greatest achievements. Every treaty represents lives saved. Every negotiation represents a choice to build rather than destroy." "Exactly," General Thax said with satisfaction. "You choose to build because you lack the spine to destroy. You negotiate because you fear to fight. You serve because you cannot rule." The voting began immediately. One by one, the council members cast their decisions. The results appeared on the main screen in cold, glowing numbers. "By majority vote," Speaker Quinn announced, "Earth is granted protected status under the Galactic Accords. As a protected species, humans are forbidden from developing advanced weapon systems, maintaining offensive military capabilities, or engaging in interstellar conflicts without council approval." Elena's heart sank. Protected status was barely above slavery. It meant Earth would be defended by the Council, but only as long as humans remained weak and obedient. Furthermore, Advisor Name added, human space travel is restricted to approved trade routes. All human colonies must accept Council oversight. Any human military vessels must be registered and inspected annually. General Thax grinned, showing teeth like broken glass. "Do not look so disappointed, little human. You should be grateful. We are protecting you from the dangers of the galaxy. Dangerous species that would eat you alive if they knew how weak you truly are." Elena approached the signing table where the treaty waited. The document was thick, written in dozens of languages, and bound in what looked like metal. As she lifted the ceremonial pen, her personal communication device vibrated softly against her wrist. She glanced down quickly. A new message had arrived through the secured diplomatic channel. The sender's name made her blood run cold. Captain Marcus Rivera. New Horizon mining vessel. Elena had met Rivera 2 years ago during the colony placement hearings. He was a good man, a former military engineer who had taken a civilian job to help establish humanity's first deep space mining operation. The New Horizon was supposed to be humanity's proof that they could contribute to galactic commerce peacefully. The message was short, but terrifying. Package delivered to Kepler 442b. Mining operation compromised. Unknown hostiles. Send help. Elena's hand trembled slightly as she signed the treaty. Around her, the council members were already discussing other business, dismissing Earth as a minor concern that had been properly handled, but Elena knew something they did not. The mining operation at Kepler 442b was more than just a commercial venture. It was humanity's first true test of independence in the galaxy. And now it was under attack by unknown enemies. As she set down the pen, Elena realized that humanity's greatest challenge was about to begin. The Council had just forbidden Earth from having any real military response capability, but Captain Rivera and his crew were in danger, possibly facing enemies that the Council had never encountered. The treaty was signed. Earth was now officially protected, controlled, and helpless, or so the Council believed. The red sun of Kepler 442b cast strange shadows across the mining colony as Captain Marcus Rivera crouched behind a damaged cargo container. His mining suit was torn in 3 places, and dried blood covered the left side of his face. Around him, the sounds of terror echoed through the settlement. Something moved in the darkness between the buildings. Rivera raised his mining laser, knowing it would barely scratch whatever was hunting them. These creatures were unlike anything in the galactic databases. They moved like liquid shadow, changing shape as they flowed across the ground. "Captain," whispered Dr. Sarah Mitchell from behind a nearby wall, "the communications array is still working. I sent the distress signal, but I don't know if anyone received it." Rivera nodded grimly. 200 civilian miners had come to this distant world to extract rare metals for Earth's growing space program. Now only 60 remained alive. Trapped in the reinforced command center while monsters prowled outside, the creatures had appeared 3 days ago, emerging from deep underground caverns that the mining equipment had accidentally broken into. They consumed everything in their path, including metal, organic matter, and even energy itself. The mining robots had been devoured first, followed by the outer settlements. "What are they?" asked engineer Tom Bradley, his voice shaking as he watched a creature flow past their hiding spot. Rivera had been asking himself the same question. In his 20 years of military service before joining the mining corps, he had never seen anything like these beings. They seemed to think, to plan, to learn from each encounter. Meanwhile, on Earth, Admiral Kate Morrison stood in the underground command center beneath the Rocky Mountains. The room hummed with quiet activity as dozens of technicians monitored screens showing data from across human space. This facility officially did not exist. "The message came through the secure channel 15 minutes ago," reported Colonel James Park, Admiral Morrison's intelligence chief. "Captain Rivera's team is under attack by unknown hostiles? No visual confirmation yet of what they're facing." Admiral Morrison studied the holographic display showing Kepler 442b's location. The mining colony was 3 weeks away from Earth at maximum speed, assuming they used conventional ships. "Have we contacted the Galactic Council?" she asked. Colonel Park's expression darkened. Ambassador Vasquez tried. General Fax laughed and said, quote, "If humans were not so weak, they would not need rescue, advisor." Nim stated that this was humanity's problem to solve without violence. President David Thompson entered the command center, followed by General Alex Stone. Both men looked tired. They had spent the last 6 hours in emergency meetings trying to find a legal way around the treaty Elena had just signed. Options? President Thompson asked simply. Admiral Morrison activated a different display. Instead of showing Earth's official fleet of exploration and research vessels, this screen revealed something else entirely. Ships that looked civilian on the outside but carried hidden capabilities that would surprise the Galactic Council. Operation Silent Thunder, Morrison explained. "We send the Harmony on a rescue mission. Officially, it's a civilian transport going to evacuate survivors. Unofficially, Commander Lisa Park and her team will assess the threat and respond as necessary." General Stone frowned. "The treaty forbids us from military action without council approval. The treaty forbids us from maintaining offensive military capabilities," Morrison corrected. "It says nothing about rescue operations or self-defense." President Thompson understood immediately. "The ships are civilian. The crews are civilian. If they happen to be very well-trained civilians with access to very sophisticated rescue equipment, that's not our fault." 3 hours later, Commander. Lisa Park stood on the bridge of the Harmony as it prepared for departure. To any observer, she looked like a civilian rescue coordinator in a simple blue jumpsuit. Her crew wore similar clothing and carried equipment that appeared to be standard emergency response gear. "Departure clearance granted," came the voice from Earth Traffic Control. "Have a safe journey, Harmony. Bring our people home." Park nodded. To her pilot, Ryan Walsh. Like her, Walsh appeared to be a civilian volunteer. His personnel file listed him as a former cargo pilot who had volunteered for the rescue mission. It did not mention his 15 years of combat experience or his specialization in tactical flight operations. "Hyperspace jump in 30 seconds. Os announced. Engineer Maria Santos checked her instruments from the engineering station. Her equipment looked like standard civilian repair tools, but each device had been carefully designed with multiple functions. The gravity hammer could repair hull breaches or create them. The plasma welder could fix damaged systems or cut through enemy armor. Dr. James Chun sat at the communications station, officially serving as the mission's xenobiologist. His job was to help identify any alien threats they might encounter. His unofficial job was to assess enemy capabilities and recommend tactical responses. As the Harmony jumped to hyperspace, Park reviewed the mission parameters. Officially, they were a rescue ship with basic defensive capabilities. Unofficially, they carried enough firepower to level a small city and the training to use it effectively, back on Kepler 442b. Captain Rivera watched through a cracked window as more creatures emerged from the underground tunnels. These beings moved with purpose, spreading across the colony in organized patterns. They were not mindless animals. They were intelligent, systematic, and learning from each encounter with human technology. "Captain," Dr. Mitchell called softly from her position at the communications console. "I'm picking up something strange. These creatures are emitting some kind of bioelectric field. It's almost like they're talking to each other." Rivera moved to look at her readings. The patterns were complex, showing waves of activity that seemed to coordinate the creature's movements. "Can you decode it?" he asked. Mitchell shook her head. "Not with this equipment. But I'm recording everything. Maybe if we survive this, someone smarter than me can figure out what they're saying." Engineer Bradley was monitoring the mining equipment when he noticed something that made his blood run cold. "Captain, you need to see this. The deep core scanners are showing massive movement underground. These things aren't just in our tunnels anymore. They're spreading through the entire planetary crust." Rivera felt his stomach drop. If the creatures were spreading underground, they could emerge anywhere on the planet. The colony's defenses were designed to protect against surface attacks, not creatures that could appear from below. Worse, the mining operation had been extracting materials needed for Earth's space expansion program. If these creatures consumed the mining equipment, they would gain access to human technology and manufacturing capabilities. "Sir," Dr. Mitchell said urgently, "I'm detecting energy signatures moving away from the planet. Something launched into space 20 minutes ago." Rivera moved to the sensor station and felt his heart stop. 3 objects had left Kepler 442b's atmosphere and were accelerating toward hyperspace jump points. The energy signatures were unlike anything in human or Galactic Council databases. "Where are they heading?" he asked. Mitchell worked frantically at her console. "I'm triangulating their courses now." "Oh, no. Oh, no, no, no. What is it?" Mitchell looked up with pure terror in her eyes. "They're heading for 3 different star systems. The trajectories point toward Nexus Prime, the Krovar, Homeworld, and the Villani core system. Captain, I think we just witnessed the launch of an invasion fleet." Rivera stared at the display showing the 3 energy signatures disappearing into hyperspace. The creatures attacking their mining colony were not just local predators. They were part of something much larger, something that had been waiting underground for the right moment to strike, and humanity had just accidentally awakened them. The Harmony dropped out of hyperspace above Kepler 442b like a falling star. Commander Lisa Parks stood on the bridge, watching the planet grow larger on the main screen. From orbit, the mining colony looked peaceful, but thermal scans told a different story. "I'm reading multiple heat signatures moving through the settlement," reported Dr. James Chun from his station. "Whatever's down there, it's active and spreading fast." Ryan Walsh checked his flight controls one more time. The ship's exterior still looked like a simple civilian transport, but hidden panels were ready to open at a moment's notice. "Setting course for the landing pad near the command center. It's the only clear area left." Park activated the communication system. "New Horizon Mining Base, this is the rescue ship Harmony. Captain Rivera, please respond." Static filled the channel for several seconds before a tired voice crackled through. "Harmony, this is Rivera. Thank God you're here. We have 60 survivors trapped in the command center. The entire colony is overrun." "We're coming down to get you," Park replied. "Prepare your people for immediate evacuation." As the Harmony descended through the atmosphere, Engineer Maria Santos ran final checks on her equipment. Her tools looked innocent enough, but each one had been designed for multiple purposes. The portable shield generator appeared to be emergency lighting equipment. The plasma cutters looked like standard repair tools. "Landing in 2 minutes," Walsh announced. Through the windows they could see the devastation below. Buildings had been torn apart as if by massive claws. Mining equipment lay scattered and partially dissolved. The ship touched down with barely a tremor. Park was already moving toward the exit, her rescue team behind her. They wore simple civilian clothes and carried what appeared to be basic emergency gear. "Remember," Park said as they reached the airlock, "we're civilians conducting a rescue operation, nothing more." The airlock opened and the team stepped onto the surface of Kepler 442b. The air was thin but breathable, filled with the smell of melted metal and something else. Something organic and wrong. Captain Rivera met them halfway to the command center, his mining suit torn and stained. Behind him came the other survivors, carrying whatever supplies they could manage. "Commander," Rivera said, recognizing Park's bearing despite her civilian clothes, "we need to move fast. These things learn from every encounter. They're getting smarter." As if summoned by his words, something moved in the shadows between the damaged buildings. A creature flowed like liquid darkness, shifting its shape as it approached. It had no fixed form, sometimes looking like a pool of black water, sometimes rising up like smoke made solid. "Everyone behind me," Park ordered, her voice calm but firm. She reached for what looked like a standard emergency beacon on her belt. In her hands, it transformed into something else entirely, panels sliding open to reveal advanced targeting systems. The creature rushed toward them with impossible speed. Park's weapon fired a beam of pure energy that struck the thing dead center. Instead of dissolving like the mining equipment, the creature simply absorbed the energy and kept coming. "Interesting," said Dr. Chun, pulling out his own device. "It's adapting to the energy frequency. Ryan, try a different approach." Walsh nodded and activated what appeared to be a portable atmospheric processor. The device hummed to life and projected a sonic barrier that stopped the creature in its tracks. The thing writhed against the invisible wall, its form shifting as it tried to find a way through. "Sonic disruption affects its molecular cohesion," Chun observed, taking readings with his scanner, "but it's already starting to adapt. We have maybe 30 seconds before it figures out how to get through." More creatures emerged from the ruined buildings, flowing toward them like a dark tide. Park made a quick decision. "Maria, defensive perimeter. Ryan, cover the evacuation route. James, I need everything you can tell me about these things." Santos activated her equipment, and suddenly the area around them was filled with energy barriers and defensive systems that definitely did not belong on a civilian rescue ship. The portable generators she carried unfolded into sophisticated force field projectors. Her repair tools became weapons that fired precise bursts of different energy types. The survivors stared in amazement as the rescue team revealed their true capabilities. These were not civilian volunteers. They moved with military precision, their equipment transformed from innocent tools into advanced weapons systems. "How are you doing this?" Rivera asked as they began moving toward the Harmony. "Later," Park replied, coordinating the team's movements with hand signals that spoke of years of combat training. "Right now, we focus on getting everyone out alive." The creatures pressed closer, but each time they adapted to one type of defense, the humans switched to another. Walsh used sonic disruptors, then switched to electromagnetic pulses. Santos projected energy barriers, then changed to kinetic force fields. Dr. Chun worked frantically with his scanner as they moved. "I'm reading their bioelectric communications," he announced. "They're sharing information about our tactics in real time. Every adaptation one of them makes, they all learn." "Then we keep changing our approach," Park said simply. "How long until they adapt to everything we have?" "At their current learning rate, maybe 10 minutes. Chun replied grimly. They reached the Harmony's boarding ramp as more creatures poured out of the underground tunnels. The ship's civilian exterior began to change as hidden panels slid back to reveal weapon systems that would have impressed the Galactic Council. "Everyone aboard," Park ordered. "Ryan, prep for immediate departure." As the survivors filed into the ship, Rivera grabbed Park's arm. "Those energy signatures that launched into space 3 days ago," Dr. Mitchell tracked their courses. "They're heading for Council worlds." Park's expression grew grim. "How many?" 3 ships. Nexus Prime, the Krovar homeworld, and the Villani core system. Inside the ship, Dr. Chun was analyzing the data he had collected from the creatures. What he found made his blood run cold. "Commander," he called urgently, "you need to see this. These bioelectric patterns, they're not just communication, they're tactical analysis. These creatures have been studying Galactic Council military tactics for years, maybe decades." Park joined him at the science station as Walsh lifted the Harmony off the planet's surface. The main screen showed complex data patterns that looked almost like military strategy documents. "They know how the Crovar fight," Chun continued. "Ono-based tactics, direct confrontation, predictable assault patterns. They understand Villani strategy, calculated and logical but inflexible. They've even analyzed ethereal combat methods, powerful but ancient and unchanging. What about human tactics?" Park asked. Chun looked up with a mixture of fear and excitement. In his eyes, "That's just it, Commander. There's no data on human military capabilities. As far as these creatures know, humans are defenseless civilians who avoid conflict." The Harmony reached orbit and began preparing for the hyperspace jump back to Earth. Below them, the mining colony continued to be consumed by the dark creatures that flowed through its ruins like living shadow. "Set course for Earth," Park ordered. "Maximum speed?" As they jumped to hyperspace, Dr. Chun continued analyzing the creatures' communication patterns. What he discovered would change everything about humanity's role in the coming war. The creatures were not just invading random worlds. They had specifically chosen to attack the three most heavily defended systems in Council space simultaneously. It was a coordinated assault designed to test the galaxy's military response, but they had made one critical error. They had never seen humans fight. The first attack came without warning. Nexus Prime's defensive sensors detected the approaching vessel only minutes before it struck the outer ring of the station. General Fax was in his command center when the alarms began screaming. "Report?" he roared, his massive frame towering over the tactical displays. "Unknown vessel approaching at impossible speed," replied his aide, Lieutenant Vex. "Energy signature unlike anything in our databases." On the main screen, they watched as a dark shape flowed through space like liquid shadow. It moved without any visible propulsion system, changing form as it approached the station's defenses. General Fax activated the Crovar fleet's battle stations. 50 warships moved into position around Nexus Prime, their weapons charging with the red glow of Crovar battle fury. These were ships built for honor and glory, designed to meet enemies in direct combat. "All vessels, prepare for engagement," Fax commanded. "Show these unknown fools the power of the Crovar Empire." The first wave of Crovar ships attacked with traditional tactics, forming battle lines and firing coordinated volleys. Their weapons struck the dark vessel with enough force to destroy a moon, but the creature simply absorbed the energy and grew larger. "Impossible," Fax whispered as he watched his most powerful weapons feed the enemy instead of destroying it. The creature responded by splitting into dozens of smaller forms that flowed between the Crovar ships like schools of deadly fish. Each one attached itself to a warship's hull and began consuming metal, energy, and crew with equal hunger. 3 star systems away, Advisor Nim of the Villani Collective faced the same nightmare. The Villani response was completely different from the Crovar approach. Instead of charging into battle, they analyzed the threat with cold logic. Probability of successful defense using standard tactics, 0.3%. Nim announced to the Villani fleet commanders. Implementing strategic withdrawal pattern 7. The Villani ships moved in perfect mathematical formations, their crystal hulls reflecting starlight as they executed calculated maneuvers designed to minimize losses while maximizing damage to the enemy. But the creature had studied Villani tactics for decades. It anticipated every logical response, countered every calculated strategy, and methodically destroyed each ship with mechanical precision. "The enemy knows our methods," Nim reported with growing alarm. "All tactical variations have been anticipated and countered." At the same time, Speaker Quinn of the Ethereal Dominion watched his ancient fleets engage the third creature near their core worlds. The ethereal ships were older than most species, powered by technologies that had been perfected. When the galaxy was young, "Deploy the void cannons," Quinn commanded, his ghostly form flickering with concentration. "Channel the power of dead stars into our weapons." The ethereal vessels opened fire with weapons that could tear holes in reality itself. Energy beams that had destroyed entire civilizations struck the creature with the force of collapsing suns. The creature absorbed everything and continued its advance. How is this possible? Quinn wondered aloud. These weapons have never failed us. On Nexus Prime, the situation grew desperate. Half of General Thax's fleet had been consumed or destroyed. The creature had learned to counter every Krovar weapon, every tactical formation, every battle strategy in their arsenal. "Sir," Lieutenant Vex reported, "we're receiving evacuation orders from the Council. They want all delegates moved to emergency shelters." Thax's red eyes burned with fury and shame. The Krovar had never retreated from any battle, but their enemy seemed impossible to defeat. In the council chambers, panic filled the air like smoke. Delegates from dozens of species argued over evacuation procedures while their fleets died in. Space around them. Ambassador Elena Vasquez stood quietly in the corner watching the chaos unfold. Her personal communicator buzzed with an incoming message from Earth. "Admiral," Morrison's voice came through clearly despite the interference. "Elena, we're monitoring the situation. 3 human ships are moving to assist. The Constitution, Endeavor, and Pioneer are 30 minutes out from Nexus Prime." "Admiral," Elena replied quietly, "the treaty forbids military intervention without Council approval." "The treaty forbids offensive military action," Morrison corrected. "It says nothing about humanitarian rescue operations." Around Elena, the Council delegates continued their desperate discussions. General Thax's voice boomed over the communication systems as he reported the loss of another dozen ships. "The enemy adapts to everything we throw at it," Thax admitted. "Through gritted teeth. Our weapons feed it. Our tactics strengthen it. Our courage means nothing against this darkness." Advisor Nim's crystal voice added to the grim reports. "Villani losses at 60% and climbing. The creature's tactical analysis exceeds our computational capabilities." Speaker Quinn's ghostly whisper carried despair. "Ancient weapons prove useless. Powers that have protected us for millennia offer no defense against this enemy." The main screen in the council chamber showed all 3 battles simultaneously. The most powerful military forces in the galaxy were being systematically destroyed by enemies they could not understand or defeat. "Honored delegates," Elena said, stepping forward, "Earth offers assistance in this crisis." The chamber fell silent. General Thax's image on the screen turned toward her with disbelief. "Assistance?" He laughed bitterly. "What could your defenseless species possibly do that our mighty fleets cannot?" "Sometimes," Elena replied calmly, "a different perspective can find solutions that traditional approaches miss." Before anyone could respond, new contacts appeared on the tactical displays. 3 ships emerged from hyperspace near Nexus Prime. Their designs unlike anything in Council databases. The Constitution looked like a civilian transport vessel, but moved with the precision of a warship. The Endeavor appeared to be a cargo hauler, but its approach pattern spoke of advanced tactical training. The Pioneer seemed like a simple research ship, but the energy readings it gave off suggested capabilities far beyond its innocent appearance. "Unidentified vessels," General Thax broadcast. "You are entering a combat zone. Withdraw immediately." "Negative, General," came the reply from Admiral Morrison aboard the Constitution. "We're here to help." The 3 human ships moved toward the creature with no apparent fear. Instead of forming traditional battle lines or executing logical formations, they spread out in seemingly random patterns. The creature, having grown massive from consuming Krovar energy, turned toward these new targets. It had analyzed thousands of years of galactic military history, but these ships moved like nothing in its vast database of tactical knowledge. Captain Maya Foster of the Endeavor fired first, but not at the creature itself. Her weapons struck the debris field left by destroyed Krovar ships, creating a cloud of superheated metal particles. Commander Jake Harrison of the Pioneer followed with a different approach, using gravitational manipulators to create artificial tidal forces in the space around the creature. Admiral Morrison coordinated the attack from the Constitution, but her ship's weapons remained silent. Instead, she seemed to be analyzing the creature's responses to her companion's unconventional tactics. "What are they doing?" General Thax demanded. "Their weapons are too weak to damage the enemy." The creature flowed toward the human ships, confident in its ability to adapt to any attack. It had learned to counter every weapon type, every energy frequency, every tactical approach used by galactic civilization, but the humans were not using weapons or tactics from any galactic database. They were improvising, adapting, and creating new strategies in real time. The creature reached the Constitution and prepared to consume it as it had dozens of other ships. But Admiral Morrison had been waiting for exactly this moment. "Now," she broadcast simply, the three human ships executed a maneuver that should have been impossible, working together with a coordination that spoke of years of joint training. The creature found itself trapped in a web of gravitational forces, energy fields and kinetic barriers that had never existed before. For the first time since the attacks began, the creature stopped advancing. The massive creature fleet arrived at Earth's solar system expecting to find a defenseless world populated by weak beings who feared conflict. Instead, they found something impossible. Earth was surrounded by a defensive grid that should not have existed according to every Council database. Hidden installations around Jupiter, Mars, and the asteroid belt came online simultaneously, revealing weapons platforms that had been disguised as civilian infrastructure for decades. Admiral Morrison stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, a vessel that made the Council's largest dreadnoughts look like patrol boats. The ship had been hidden in the shadow of Earth's moon, its massive bulk concealed by advanced stealth technology. "All stations report ready?" announced General Stone from the Planetary Defense Center buried deep beneath the Rocky Mountains. "Hidden fleets are moving into position." The main display showed the approaching enemy armada. Hundreds of creatures flowed through space like a dark tide, their forms shifting and changing as they prepared for what they expected to be an easy conquest. President Thompson watched from the secure command bunker as humanity's true military strength revealed itself. Ships that had appeared to be civilian transports shed their disguises, revealing weapons and armor that would have amazed the Galactic Council. The Galactic Council delegates, evacuated to Earth for their safety, stared in shocked silence as they witnessed something beyond their understanding. These were not the fearful, peaceful humans they had mocked just days before. "Impossible," whispered General Thax, his red eyes wide with disbelief. "Your species does not have this technology. The Council monitors all military development." Elena Vasquez stood beside the viewing window, her expression calm but determined. "The Council monitors what we choose to show you. Just as our pursuit of peace was real, so was our preparation for war." The first wave of creatures reached Earth's outer defenses and encountered something they had never faced before. Instead of fixed battle lines or predictable formations, human ships moved like hunting packs, their tactics changing constantly. Colonel Rebecca Torres led the fighter squadrons in an attack pattern that seemed chaotic but was perfectly coordinated. Her pilots flew their ships like extensions of their bodies, weaving between enemy creatures with impossible precision. "Enemy adapting to energy weapons," Torres reported over the communication system, switching to kinetic bombardment. Her fighters instantly changed their approach, using mass drivers and projectile weapons instead of energy beams. When the creatures adapted to that, the humans switched to electromagnetic pulses. When immunity developed, they used sonic disruption. Captain Nathan Cross commanded the weapons platforms hidden throughout the asteroid belt. His installations had been disguised as mining operations for years, but now they revealed their true purpose. "Targeting enemy coordination nodes," Cross announced, disrupting their communication network. Instead of trying to destroy the creatures with brute force, the humans attacked their ability to share information. Dr. Chun's analysis From Kepler 442b had revealed that the creature's greatest strength was their collective learning ability. The enemy fleet began to fragment as their communications were jammed. Individual creatures still adapted to human weapons, but they could no longer share that knowledge with the rest of the swarm. Admiral Morrison watched the battle develop from the Indomitable's command center. Around her, displays showed hundreds of engagements happening simultaneously across the solar system. Deploy the Prometheus protocol, she ordered. Hidden facilities on Mars began launching what appeared to be civilian cargo containers. But these containers opened in space to reveal something the creatures had never encountered: self-replicating weapon systems that could adapt faster than biological evolution. The containers spread across the battlefield like seeds, each one analyzing enemy tactics and developing countermeasures in real time. When a creature learned to resist one type of attack, the human systems immediately developed 3 new approaches. Speaker. Quinn's ghostly form flickered with amazement. How do you possess such technology? Our species has existed for millions of years, and we have never seen weapons that learn. Because you think of war as something to be won through strength or logic, Elena replied. Humans learned long ago that the deadliest wars are won through adaptation and creativity. The largest creature in the enemy fleet, a massive being that had grown by consuming entire worlds, approached Earth directly. It had learned to counter every weapon type used by galactic civilization and expected human defenses to fall before its accumulated knowledge. Instead, it encountered something that defied all analysis. Earth's planetary defense grid activated, with weapons that had never existed before this moment. Engineers across the planet had spent the battle creating new technologies, building defenses specifically designed to counter this exact enemy. Activating the Aurora Array, General Stone announced from his command center. Satellites hidden in Earth's magnetic field began generating energy patterns that interfered with the creature's molecular cohesion. The massive being found its form, becoming unstable as human scientists attacked the very forces that held it together. The creature tried to adapt, but human physicists were already developing new approaches. When it learned to resist electromagnetic disruption, they switched to gravitational distortion. When it countered that, they used quantum interference patterns. Colonel Maria Santos, now commanding a fleet of engineering vessels, led the final assault. Her ships looked like construction equipment, but they carried tools designed to dismantle matter at the atomic level. Target the creature's core structure, Santos ordered. Begin molecular separation procedures. The massive being that had consumed entire star systems found itself being taken apart, piece by weapons that resembled mining equipment and construction tools. Human engineers approached warfare like a construction project, methodically dismantling their enemy with industrial precision. General Thax watched in stunned silence as the seemingly unstoppable invasion force was systematically destroyed. How? He asked Elena. How did your species develop such capabilities in secret? Elena turned to face the assembled council delegates. Every peace treaty we signed taught us about diplomacy. Every war we fought taught us about conflict. Every surrender we made taught us about patience. We studied every form of warfare in our history and prepared for threats you never imagined. The battle reached its climax as the last of the creature fleet was eliminated. Earth's hidden defenses had proven more than adequate to handle an enemy that had defeated the galaxy's most powerful military forces. President Thompson addressed the council delegates as the debris of the enemy fleet drifted harmlessly through space. The galaxy is safe, but this changes everything. Humanity will accept full council membership, but on our terms. What terms? Asked Advisor Nim, her crystal form pulsing with nervous energy. Elena stepped forward, her voice carrying the authority of a species that had just proven its strength. We will lead the galaxy's military forces. We will establish new protocols for detecting and countering unknown threats. And we will ensure that no species ever again faces extinction because they were unprepared for war. General Thax slowly nodded his massive head. Why reveal this power now? Why not conquer us when you had the chance? Elena's expression softened slightly. because conquest was never our goal, protection was. We prepared for war so that peace would remain possible. The Galactic Council had learned a truth that would reshape their understanding of humanity forever. The species they had dismissed as weak and fearful was actually the most dangerous military force in the galaxy, and their greatest strength was not their weapons or their tactics. It was their wisdom to know when not to use them,